On Tech News Today, Facebook is working on a version of their app for virtual reality. Qualcomm's new mid-range chips have high-end features, and a major fruit company invents the smart banana, or do they? We're interviewing journalists from VentureBeat and GigaOM, so stick around. Tech News Today is next.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, February 18th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 50-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And by Shutterstock.com. With over 46 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 20% off image subscription packages on your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code TNT215. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. I'm Mike Elgan, and welcome to the show. Co-anchoring today is Megan Morrone, anchor of Tech News Tonight and the host of i5 for the iPhone, right here in the studio. How's it going?
Thank you for having me. It's going well. You do a lot of work very early in the morning.
Yes.
You do. Every morning. I'm impressed.
Yeah, and my fear, my worst fear is that I'm just going to sleep right through it. I'm going to wake up at 10:30 and be like, oh, Saturday. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's Wednesday. And so I set 3 alarms, get up at 4. And it's just, I'm paranoid about it.
Yeah.
So
I did have an anxiety dream last night.
Did you?
That you were pinging me at 7 a.m. saying, you haven't done any work. You don't know what the news is.
You pictured the empty chair.
Yeah.
We had the empty chair on the other day. It wasn't very exciting. All right, well, let's jump into the news. A Facebook executive last night said the company is making virtual reality apps for the Oculus Rift platform. Facebook Chief Product Officer Chris Cox was speaking at Recode's Code Media Conference, and he said that even the Facebook social network is getting a VR app. Let's take a look at some of his comments.
What's the one thing that you haven't been able to accomplish there yet that you want to try to figure out?
I mean, virtual reality is pretty cool.
And how do you think VR works within like a newsfeed context? Have you thought about that?
He's
Yeah,
being interviewed by
about
Peter
it.
Kafka with Recode.
We have a demo where you're in the Blue Angels. So you're in the main plane in the middle, and you're flying over Colorado. And you can look to your left and to your right and see these pilots moving around in the planes. There's another one where you're in a yurt in Mongolia.
It's more my speed.
And you go, well, it's like, not a lot of people are going to get to go to Mongolia in their life. I've never been. But you're in the yurt, there's like, a smoky little fire nearby. There's a woman making food. You can look around, it's beautiful. And you immediately understand it's like one of these things, the first time you're in it, you realize you are looking at the future. What you're doing when you're using Facebook, you're just sending around little bits of experience. You're just sending a photo, you're sending a video, you're sending a piece of text, you're sending an idea, you're sending a thought. I think the version of the world where you're sending, a fuller, immersive picture of what you're doing.
And you think people are going to be creating that experience?
Totally.
Or are they going to rely on
Absolutely.
publishers to do it? So
Both.
you will be able to make virtual reality that you can share with your friends.
You'll do it, Beyonce will do it,
Beyonce's is way more interesting than mine.
That's probably true.
So how far off are we from that?
We can cut it there. If you want to see the full video, you can go to recode.net. Daniel Terdiman is a senior writer for VentureBeat, and he wrote on this story as well. Welcome to you, Daniel.
Thank you very much.
Now, Cox said that experiencing Facebook inside Oculus could give users a fuller picture of Facebook. Any idea what this experience would be like or how it would work? I mean, the one thing that I can imagine is instead of taking video of yourself inside, your room or something like that, you take a VR 360-degree video of the same thing. Is that what he's talking about, or is there something beyond just a 360 video that you can immerse yourself in?
I mean, I think if you think of virtual reality and social networks, I mean, I think this is why Facebook bought Oculus in the first place. They wanted this 3-dimensional immersive experience, And the fact that they're talking about it a little bit right now is it's not surprising to me. It's actually surprising that it's taken this long. I think that it's exactly what you say. If you can imagine you sitting in a room with your friends and popping up a video or a piece of music or something, I really think that's what they're talking about.
Are they talking more about, he talks about vacations. Everyone gets a little bit annoyed when their friends go on vacations and all these beautiful places and they don't want to see their pictures. But if they could actually be there in a virtual reality sense, is that what he's talking about?
Yeah, I think that the great promise of Oculus and systems like Oculus is what developers can build for it. It's sort of like the infinite extensibility of it. One thing that I always go back to when I'm thinking about Facebook and Oculus is that the guy who led the acquisition of Oculus for Facebook was their vice president of engineering, a guy named Corey Andreka, and his background was that he was the CTO and co-founder of Linden Lab, which made the virtual world Second Life. So he brought this long experience with making immersive 3D social experiences to that acquisition, and he's gone. He left the company, or he left Facebook in December. But I have to guess that he was very involved in kind of like thinking about this broader picture of what you could do with the next generation of these like immersive experiences and how Facebook fits it into it.
Daniel, should we be scared to death of this technology? And the reason we might want to do that is because I actually wrote a column about this, I think, last weekend at Computer World. The idea is that all these companies, especially Facebook, are in a war with each other to evolve more distracting and more addictive forms of content and engagement. And I can't imagine anything more addictive or distracting than virtual reality. I can imagine an entire generation of kids growing up never wanting to leave the virtual space because the real world is just full of, things that are not very as appealing as the fantasy world or the social world that could be created in virtual reality. Is this something that you're concerned about? I know you've been writing for a long time about technology and culture. Do you think that this is a risk that we're going to lose a generation or two to virtual reality?
It's funny. I haven't really thought about it in those terms. I think that there's nothing that we can do about it. The technology is moving forward. It's going to happen whether it's Facebook or Google or Microsoft or Apple or whoever. There's a lot of people out there who want these experiences. There's a lot of people who are going to build them. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of kids and adults also who are going to spend a great deal of time in these experiences. And it's going to be up to society to figure out a way to keep making the first world compelling. But I think that we've been hearing this concern for a long time. I used to write a lot about Second Life, which I mentioned earlier, and that was something that people brought up all the time. Like, why would people need this Second Life? Isn't their first life good enough? What they always say is like only boring people get bored. There's always something interesting to do outside, and it's up to people to kind of find that right balance, I think.
People are always going to prefer the virtual life to their real life. That's why we have stories. People want to experience other people's lives, and I'm curious to see if Peter Kafka's virtual reality sharing is actually going to be less compelling than Beyonce's. Who knows? He could give her a run for her money. Daniel Terdiman is at VentureBeat. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You had another comment.
I was going to say. I think that there's what this virtual reality type of experience really does offer is a view into people's lives if they're willing to share it. And I think a lot of people probably do want to see what Beyonce would create or a lot of other celebrities. And so I think it's very interesting that they mentioned that yesterday specifically.
And you'll probably get to experience what it's like to be Beyonce with virtual reality. Another scary thing. Daniel Terdiman is at VentureBeat.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at GreeterDan. Thanks for joining us, Daniel.
Thanks very much.
All right. We've got some more news for you in just a sec, but first, let's talk about hiring people. ZipRecruiter is one of our sponsors today, and if you want to hire the right person and do it fast, you have to use ZipRecruiter because the best candidates are all over the internet. They're scattered here, there, and everywhere. They're on the social networks. They're on the job sites. They're on the free job sites. They're on the paid job sites. You never know where you're going to find that perfect candidate, but ZipRecruiter knows. And with a single click, you can send your job out to all of these networks in any industry nationwide. Just post once and watch the qualified candidates roll in, and you can use ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface to go through them. They have a resume database. We do big numbers on this show. We're always throwing around big numbers because it's a lot of fun. Here's a big number for you: 5,471,481. That's how many resumes that ZipRecruiter has in their resume database. It's enormous, and it's free to search, and you can just look at all of these resumes anytime you like. So even before you send out your job to all these different places, you've already got that enormous resume database. You can do custom branding. You can have unlimited users to your account. Doesn't matter if you have 1 or 100 users. A single account lets you collaborate in a number of extremely powerful ways. And of course, ZipRecruiter has a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you're not happy for any reason, they'll offer your money back, and they won't be giving you your money back. You're going to love it. You're going to hire the right person because ZipRecruiter is the place to do that. Right now, our listeners and viewers can try ZipRecruiter for free. Plus, get 30% off your first traffic boost by going to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today.
Chip giant Qualcomm announced a handful of new chipsets today. They're not any faster or better than what's out there right now, but what's exciting about that is that the chipsets contain some high-end features, but they're designed for mainstream phones. Kevin Tofel, senior writer at GigaOM, is joining us today. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Meg. Hey, how are you?
So what new chips were introduced?
So these are the newer 400 and 600 Snapdragon chips that we'll typically see in budget phones or mid-range phones. But what's exciting about these new chips is that Qualcomm's bringing the features from those high-end chips that are in current flagship phones down to the lower price point phones. So you'll get 4K video, for example, support on these new chips. You'll have faster LTE speeds. And some of these phones, I mean, a Moto G currently uses a Snapdragon 400 processor. That costs $179 to $200, depending on the configuration. I mean, these are features that you couldn't touch for under $600, $700, or $800 or more just a year ago. So it's pretty exciting to see this.
Now, you reported that Qualcomm's X8 LTE modem is part of the 425 chip, and you said you were surprised by its inclusion. Can you tell us about this X8 and why you were surprised that it's going into that chip?
Sure. Well, Qualcomm is a master at integrating its LTE modems into its processing chips. That's why so many smartphones use it. And Qualcomm has always been a leader in terms of pushing the speeds, which are rated by categories for the morbidly curious, as far as LTE goes with networks. And the fact that you can potentially get a $200 smartphone that has download speeds of, say, 300 megabits per second or more, depending on your network, is just phenomenal to me. I mean, high speeds used to be the realm of the high-cost phones and high-priced devices. Pushing it down to the mainstream, I mean, think about how many more people will be using the faster networks, which enable them to do so much more. I'm impressed for the potential price points here. Chip cycles, I mean, they're very expected. We understand all that. But still, it's nice to have some perspective and see what's coming down from the high end into the medium and the low end here.
So are the chip cycles actually following Moore's Law? Are they moving faster than that now?
I wouldn't say they're moving any faster than that. I think what Qualcomm is doing is they're taking bits and pieces of certain functions or features and able to integrate them into their Snapdragon chip. You know, I say it's a processor, but it's really a system on a chip. It handles the camera, it handles the audio, the video, the processing, the digital signal processing for sensors, and so much more. I mean, it's a whole package on a chip. So I wouldn't say that things are moving faster than Moore's Law. I would say that Qualcomm is smartly integrating so many features onto a single piece of silicon.
Now, do the 618 and 620 chipsets force us to redefine what a high-end chip is? I mean, these are, the press on this right now, before we get used to this idea, we have high-end features in mid-range chips. But what is a high-end chip then? How are we going to define the highest end that goes in the flagship phones? Do we have any criteria that we can latch onto to understand what's a high-end and what's a mid-range now?
Well, I don't think there's any industry standard or criteria. I can share an opinion, though. I mean, at $200, $300, $400 with these kinds of chips, you're going to get a phone that, as we just said, has fast mobile broadband, 4K video capture, perhaps high-resolution audio playback. But the other components are going to be what keeps it down in price and not a quote-unquote high-end phone. There may be smaller screens. They may be 720p or 1080p resolution screens, whereas a high-end phone to many people is higher resolution, 2560 by 1440, for example. Could be limited amounts of storage in these mid-range phones. So yes, they'll get high-end features, but they'd still be considered mid-range from that perspective. Not all of the features and functions will be considered high-end. It'll kind of be, we've got the smarts, we've got the engine and the horsepower for high-end. The rest of the components, you may have to make a little compromise there.
So next, in a couple weeks, is Mobile World Congress, and I know the biggest news coming out of there is Samsung Galaxy S6, and Samsung says they're not going to use Qualcomm chips. So is this kind of why they're coming out, why Qualcomm is coming out with this news to kind of get ahead of the news cycle?
That could be part of it. Frankly, the ARM Holdings company, which does the architecture for all of these chips, they actually announced some of the new architectures that Qualcomm is using in these mid-range chips earlier this month. So it may just be a matter of following that announcement, but I could see that. Perhaps they're trying to lessen the sting of Samsung using their own Exynos chip in the Galaxy S6. At least that's what is reported at this time. We'll find out on March 1st for sure. It could be part of that. I mean, Qualcomm has taken some heat lately, no pun intended, for Snapdragon chips potentially overheating. No, they're not. Yes, they are. Who knows? I think Samsung really just used that as a smokescreen to use its own chip business in the Galaxy S6, but that's just my opinion.
That's my opinion as well. I think it's clear that they, nobody else has the same problem, and they're the ones who are manufacturing an alternative. So it's all very fishy, and I think that, maybe there are heat problems, but I think that they're easily overcome by Qualcomm, if there are any, in fact. Kevin Tofel is at gigohm.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Kevin C. Tofel. Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. The UK's Royal Bank of Scotland introduced today the ability for iPhone users to log into their bank accounts using Apple's Touch ID fingerprint scanner. Nearly half the bank's 15 million customers connect with the bank using mobile apps, and about 880,000 of them have Touch ID-enabled iPhones. The RBS's use of Touch ID is a first in the UK. American Express, Discover, and U.S. Bank already use Touch ID in the United States. And Megan Morrone, I think this is the first of a big wave of usage for fingerprint scanning, not just on iPhones, not just Touch ID, but fingerprint scanning on phones generally to basically identify yourself on websites, on all kinds of things. I think this is going to become the de facto way that people ID themselves instead of pulling out a driver's license or whatever.
And do you think it's more secure than?
I do. I absolutely do. I mean, yes, you can cut somebody's finger off. You can fake their, it's been proved that, you can fake a fingerprint.
Right.
You can do that.
I don't know why I laughed when you said someone cut someone's fingers. I am sure it happens.
Because you're sick. You're sick, Megan. You need help. No, it's an extreme. It's much harder to spoof fingerprints and biometric ID. The challenge here, of course, is getting people to do fingerprints. We've always associated fingerprints with criminal activity. Right. So people don't want to be fingerprinted, not even by a mobile device. But I think those concerns will melt away because it's just so convenient and it's so much better.
Yeah.
And we're always concerned about the new thing. We don't mind sending our credit card to the back of the restaurant with somebody and just let them, take a picture of the front, back, the little secret code in the back that's supposed to identify that you really have the credit card and all that kind of stuff. We don't mind that because we've been doing it for a long time, but we do mind the new thing, and this is clearly better.
Yeah, I think it is too. I mean, you talk about sending your credit card to the back of the restaurant, but now having your bank account online, I mean, a password is a lot easier to crack than, like you were saying, you having the fingerprint. And they're going to use additional ways to identify you. But I think you're exactly right. It's just going to be emotionally getting over the idea of giving people your fingerprints.
And it's especially true if your password is password.
Yes, which mine is not. So who knows the most about you, about what you like, about what you don't like? Is it your husband? Is it your wife? Is it your mom? For most of us these days, it's Facebook that knows us best. And you can bet that companies know that too. That's why today Facebook is announcing a new line of product ads designed to more directly target users based on our Facebook activity, our general location, and whether or not we've already used an advertiser's app or website. What do you think about this, Mike?
I think it's pretty cool. The coolest thing is that if you have an enormous inventory, if you're a Target, for example, which is one of their the first merchants using this, Shutterfly is another one, that you can throw your whole inventory database at this thing, and then it matches the user with the obscure item. So even if it's an item that you wouldn't normally say, hey, let's get that thing out there and advertise this product, you can do 10,000 products. And if somebody has an obscure taste according to their previous buying patterns or whatever the criteria are, it can pull that thing out. And then the other part of it that's cool is it's automatically, if it's not in stock or they run out or whatever, they can pull it from that and it won't be advertised. Now, interestingly, just before we came on the air here, Facebook told TechCrunch that these product ads are mostly for retargeting. So they can be used for general purposes, but it's mostly using data collected from the merchant's website or the app to customize the ad. So this is more about retargeting for people who have already expressed interest. That's mostly how they're doing this, sort of figuring out what people want.
I find that a little creepy. I always do. I can't get over the fact that I will look at a pair of shoes on one website and then 3 websites later the same pair of shoes are in my ad. And that's not the same as what Facebook's been doing. That's been around for a while. But I find it creepy so much so that I don't want to buy that product anymore.
What I find creepy is the fact that they harvest all this data and then the ads don't seem to reflect any knowledge of me. It's like they seem to know everything about me, but then when it comes time to offering me something based on that knowledge, they don't know anything about me. And so this is another case where they're saying, hey, we have this new feature. We're going to figure out what you want and we're going to advertise. I thought that's what we were doing all this time. Like what were we doing with all this data? So it's, it's not so much that they harvest data, but they don't use it competently usually. So we'll see how this goes. But this is a case where they're trying to compete with Google's shopping ads and Google is sort of ahead of the game here.
And it is a good question. Where is more of your personal information and likes and dislikes? Is it in your Gmail and on your Google Plus, or is it in Facebook?
Exactly. And Facebook, of course, came out with beacons recently where they can be Facebook-specific beacons. So they want to track you even when you're not using a mobile device. You walk into a store or whatever. They want to know you're there. So
I thought you liked beacons.
I do like beacons, but I don't think that every company should have its own individual beacon. There should be standards so that everybody uses the same beacon, but that's just me. Of course, they're cheap, so why not? Why not have a wall o beacons? Did we do the beacons, the Facebook beacon story the last time you were co-anchoring?
I don't think, no, I don't know.
Oh,
I just read your story about beacons, and
I'll go
they're here to
find
stay.
Yes, they are.
This week in beacons.
That's right. Look for it. TWIB. We reported on February 5th that a U.S. District Court fined Ryan Seacrest's Typo Products Company $860,600 for violating an injunction barring it from selling a $99 Typo iPhone case, which was found to have infringed on BlackBerry patents. Well, now BlackBerry is back. They filed a new complaint that claims the company's more recent keyboard case for the iPhone, called the Typo 2, also infringes on its patents. It's great that BlackBerry has found a viable business.
Right.
So
it does look the same.
It does. So why not?
Yeah.
They've got a nice precedent there, so they should do pretty well with this case. Well, we told you last month about a limited edition 20th anniversary PlayStation 4, which had been sold at auction for about $129,000, with the proceeds going to Save the Children Japan. Now the purchase has fallen apart for unknown reasons, and Sony will keep the machine and donate the same amount to the charity. So I guess they're going to put it in a glass case so that people can go in the lobby and go, ooh, there it is, But this is a boring-looking PlayStation 4. It's not, it's not flashy. It's not fluorescent. Doesn't glow in the dark. Nothing. It's beige. But still, it's at those prices, it must be very, very cool.
So are you going to buy one?
No, there's only one of them, and they're hanging on to it. Nobody gets this one. I'm curious about what happened. I mean, how did they set up an auction where somebody could bid? There could be all this press. I mean, obviously, there's the publicity stunt, right?
Yeah.
So you want somebody to walk away with this thing. And then, I don't know, the guy's check didn't clear. I don't know what happened, but it didn't happen.
Right. Maybe it was all a press.
Could be. Big hoax.
The online video content service Hulu introduced yesterday a new feature called Watch List. It's a kind of smart, automated wish list for TV shows and movies. Watch List keeps track of what you watch, then offers you a list based on your preferences. For example, if you watch a TV show, it will prioritize the next episode from the series next time it becomes available. Watch List works across all device types and will gradually roll out over the year. But here's a tip. If you want it right away, just go to hulu.com/watchlist, get watchlist, and just click get it now.
You know, I hate smart stuff like this. I don't want people being smart with my content. I want to pick what shows I'm going to watch, and I want it to be there like reliably. I don't want, this intelligence going back, figuring out what I want to see.
They're not making you watch it. They're just giving you suggestions.
I know, but it's I still don't like it.
And then, do you watch a lot of stuff on Hulu?
No.
No.
So
yeah, I'm
pretty much
Netflix only.
Yeah. So.
Except for Parks and Recreation, the last season, which I will watch on Hulu because it's the only way to get it right now.
It's a good show we discovered recently, Jane the Virgin. Very funny. I don't know what network's on.
Don't make me watch it, Mike.
You got to watch it. You got to watch it.
See, you're doing the same thing as a computer.
That's right. Although I'm not as smart as Hulu's new feature. All right. In government crackdown news, the Russian search engine Yandex is pressing Russia's Federal Anti-Monopoly Service to investigate Google for potential violations of Russian antitrust law. Their complaint is bundling. Sound familiar? Back in the day, Microsoft was run over the coals in the United States over bundling its Internet Explorer browser with Windows. In this case, it's the bundling of Google's search app with the Android operating system. Yandex claims that that smartphone and tablet makers are, quote, forbidden, unquote, from installing competing apps. They'll probably do pretty well in Russia because they have a favorable government there. That's, everybody there kind of reports to Vladimir Putin. And they're one of the few countries where Google does not have a majority. I believe it's around 60%. Yandex has about 60% of the Russian search market. But on Android, they have something in the low 40s. So clearly it's the result of this quote-unquote bundling that's probably causing fewer people to use it on Android than they use with a PC and a browser.
Here's the big numbers section. $19 billion. That's how many dollars Snapchat would be worth if it successfully raises $500 million. It's now seeking at the valuation it claims, according to Bloomberg. The company's value from last year's funding round put it at about $10 billion. And I'll bet they're feeling pretty good about turning down that measly $3 billion offer that Facebook made in 2013.
Pretty good. I think they probably are. Well, in news you can lose, the Japanese arm of the American Dole Food Company has invented what they're calling the wearable banana. This is not a wearable banana. I would not know how to wear this, and I wouldn't even want to think about it. Dole is a sponsor of the Tokyo Marathon. There we go. That's how you wear a banana. Thank you so much. Figured it out. All right. Good luck running that marathon.
It knows what I'm thinking.
That's right. The Tokyo Marathon is Sunday, and 2 runners will carry the new Dole Smart Bananas, which have sensors and an LED display embedded under the peel. The bananas can monitor the runner's race time and heart rate and display encouraging tweets right there on the banana. Best of all, the runners have a banana at the end of the race, which they can eat.
I would like to spend the rest of the show talking about this story. It is that interesting to me.
I think that's a great idea. So let's just watch this video for a second.
Banana.
The wearable banana. How do they keep it from bruising?
Tested it day in, day out to come up with this amazing device. This is no regular
It is
banana.
amazing, let's be honest.
It's the best companion for any marathoner.
See, that's how you...
Yeah, I told you that was the way you wore it.
Until you finish the race. And understanding the wearable fat occurring around the world, this device can also detect your running time.
This has got to be some kind of hoax.
And advise
Yes,
you
of
when
course
to
it
eat
is.
bananas during your run. After you cross the finish line, of course, you can eat it too.
All right.
Okay, so even when I looked at the story at 6:15 in the morning, I knew it was not real. And as Burke said, listen to the voice. No voice like that talks about a story that is not a hoax. I will not be fooled by the wearable banana.
All right. Well, it's a little early for April Fools, but, you know.
I know, that's what it made me think about. How do you do this story in April where you're like, is that for real? Is it not? I'm going to have to go outside and do some real research or something.
It's the only way. It's the only way to trick anybody. Just don't have it anywhere near April Fools, and then they wait till April to say April Fools.
Okay. Well, I'm going to develop a real wearable banana.
Okay. Good luck with that.
I'll work on it on my 20% time.
Yeah, you should crowdfund it. All right. Well, we got some wrap-ups for you in just a sec, but first, let's talk about Shutterstock, our other sponsor today. Shutterstock is a place where you can transform your blog or your website into an amazing stunningly visual site because they have 48 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and even video clips. I use Shutterstock all the time, and I use it, sometimes when I'm talking about something concrete and very specific, I'll show a picture of that thing. If I have access to it, I'll take a picture myself of that thing. But very often, I write and blog about all kinds of abstract notions. And so how do you illustrate abstract notions, especially arbitrary ones, and especially if you're on a deadline, you're working very fast, you got to do something. Here, if you're watching the video version, Jason just typed in red ideas. So you type in red ideas. That is a pretty abstract notion with a color to go with it. And there it is. You can also put in emotions. So you can put in like beach, happiness, or, happy what? Happy balloons, something like that. Whatever it is that you want to look for, whatever it is you want to illustrate, you can be sure that it will be on Shutterstock.com. And of course, the pictures are stunning. If you look in the video version of this show, you can see how beautiful these pictures are. They have sophisticated search tools. It's like some of the best search engine technology that you've ever seen. They have shareable light boxes, which is really good. And of course, Shutterstock is a global marketplace. They have multilingual customer service in more than a dozen international countries. So if you're collaborating with people who speak other languages, no problem. They can get tech support and more at Shutterstock. No credit card needed. Just start an account and begin using Shutterstock to help imagine what your next project could be like, and save favorite images to a lightbox to review later. Once you decide to purchase, use offer code TNT215. That's TNT215. And new accounts will receive 20% off image subscription packages. That's Shutterstock.com. And for 20% off image subscription packages on new accounts, use offer code TNT215. And we thank Shutterstock for their support of Tech News Today. And I thank them for their brilliant pictures. I've been using them for a long time, and I absolutely love them. Our TNT fan of the day is Benjamin Ong in Singapore, who posted this picture on Google Plus of himself walking through his local market in preparation for the Chinese New Year in Singapore. And he posted this a few days ago. It must be nuts now. I believe that the New Year is tomorrow, Chinese New Year. And so that is a very cool picture. And there he is listening. He's tuning out all the noise, and he's tuning in to the best tech news show in the universe.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I need to steal that feature for Tech News Tonight.
Yep. It's great to show the audience. Now, how do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on any social network using the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. And that is the Tech News Today. Megan, plug your shows. What do you do?
You should watch Tech News Tonight, and that's every night at 4 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, where we follow up some of the news that Mike reports in the morning and break some news that broke in the middle of the day, and just generally have fun and do a few interviews. And then also i5 for the iPhone, which is on Wednesdays.
And no matter what, always get in the chat room. They're still talking about bananas.
Yes, they said to send in your pictures of how you wear your banana, which could be completely inappropriate. So do it.
Don't do it. Please don't do it.
Don't send them to me. Send them to Mike.
And also look for the virtual reality versions of Tech News Today and Tech News Tonight in about 10 years. So stick around for that. You can subscribe to Tech News Today on Stitcher. Go to twit.tv/TNT to subscribe to Stitcher, or any other way to subscribe. You can also watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv, or on the app or browser plugin of your choice. If you're ever in the San Francisco Bay Area, come in and watch us live. Follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV, and you can also follow my Tumblr at mikeelgan.tumblr.com.
You are everywhere.
Yeah, I'm everywhere. I really am. And please send us your thoughts and opinions. Send email to tnt@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW. Also, don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. Should they do that? Should they watch the show?
They should watch the show and subscribe to the show.
Okay. Good advice. My name is Mike Elgan, and thank you for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow.